Good afternoon, Cross Timbers. Today is Friday, October the 13th, 2017, and I'm Chris Gibbons. Today's stories include the unveiling of the bronze statue of James Earl Rudder and what's going around campus. These stories and more coming up next on Texan TV. In campus news, on Thursday, Tarleton will be unveiling a life-size bronze statue of Major General James Earl Rudder, who died in 1970 and was a founding member of the A&M system. Though the statue won't be the only thing on campus to honor Rudder, Vanderbilt Street will have its name changed to Rudder Way. The statue's unveiling is part of the Centennial Celebration. The event starts at 4 p.m. between Wisdom Gym and the Nursing Building. In other campus news, a Sons of Confederate Veterans commander threatened to fire a Tarleton professor, but then took back his demand. We now go to Quanisha Fraser with more on this story.
He's got this. I think I photocopied most of this. This is a so-called fact sheet. That's a bunch of nonsense.
That is part of a 7-page document which includes a letter requesting that this Tarleton State University professor be fired for his comments about those who support the Confederacy. Dr. Michael Landis teaches history and has an expertise in the Civil War. In an interview for Hood County News, Landis says, by naming a town after a Confederate, townspeople were announcing their devotion to white supremacy and the lost cause. Richard Freeman says he is not pleased with that statement. Freeman is the commander of a nearby chapter of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. He sent that 7-page document containing a letter to the office of the president calling for Landis to be terminated. He also wrote a personal letter to Landis calling him a complete fraud and telling him he needs to be dismissed immediately. Texan News spoke to Freeman on Wednesday afternoon. He says that what he wrote in the letters was harsh and he wants to retract his comments about Landis needing to be fired.
That letter was a little bit harsh.
However, Freeman still does not approve of the comments Landis made in the Hood County News interview. He also doesn't believe that Landis is teaching the correct version of Civil War history.
We are going through a tremendous amount of problems right now because the statues, the monuments and everything being torn down, and it is purely based on false history.
Landis says he is not at all surprised with Freeman's disapproval of what he teaches.
This is standard stuff. And the South has been insisting on these quote-unquote facts since the end of the Civil War. Not surprising in any way.
Quanisha Fraser reporting, Texan TV.
In local news, we go to Joel Stout for a list of upcoming events here at Tarleton.
Good afternoon, Texans. Come watch us play Eastern New Mexico at Memorial Stadium this weekend. And be ready to check out the Collin County Fall Tournament in Plano this weekend. Also, don't forget about Midnight Madness. Doors open at 11:15. That's it in local news. Back to you, Chris.
And now today's Texas, national, and international news from the Associated Press. In state news, Texas Tech University is still in the healing process after a police officer was fatally shot Sunday night after a dispute with a student in the university police station. The officer was shot by Hollis Reed Daniels, a 19-year-old freshman from Seguin, Texas. Texan TV News interviewed Scott Gibbens, a freshman at Texas Tech who knew the shooter. Gibbens said that Daniels was laid back and a little bit socially awkward, but he claims that he and others never saw any signs from him that would explain what he did. Daniels is being charged with capital murder, which is punishable in 2 different ways, the death sentence or life in prison. Daniels is currently being held in Lubbock County Detention Center on bail of $5 million. In national news, teams began their grim search for the dead in California wine country hit by wildfires. Search teams found difficulty identifying remains that turned up in the charred ruins of the forest fires. The teams have confirmed the death toll to be 31, making this one of the deadliest weeks of wildfires in California history. Many Californians are fleeing the area in hopes of escaping more of the flames. Local fire departments and search teams are doing their best to put out the wildfires. In international news, American hostage mom and her family freed 5 years after being kidnapped by the Taliban. An American woman, her Canadian husband, and their 3 children, all were born in captivity, were rescued on Wednesday, 5 years to the day since the couple was kidnapped by the Taliban in Afghanistan. Caitlin Coleman, 31, and her husband Joshua Boyle, 34, who were abducted while hiking in Afghanistan's Ghazni province in 2012, were secured in an exchange between Pakistani military and U.S. late Wednesday after one of the longest American hostage ordeals in recent history. The family has not yet departed Pakistan, however. The U.S. military had a plane waiting to fly the family out, U.S. officials say, but Coleman's husband Boyle would not allow the family to get on the plane and even refused to allow medical personnel to perform examination of his children. The family is expected to make it back to the United States safely. In sports, a Fifth Circuit court in New Orleans has ruled in the NFL's favor regarding the Ezekiel Elliott case. Elliott, a running back for the Dallas Cowboys, was handed a 6-game suspension from the NFL for violating its domestic abuse policy this past year. Elliott was granted a preliminary injunction to still be able to play while the case was in court. His latest ruling has vacated that injunction, forcing Elliott to start his suspension. The Cowboys have a bye this weekend, which should give them some extra time to find his replacement. And now for the weather. The low for today is 67, with temperatures reaching up to 91 by the end of the day. There's a 0% chance of rain, with wind reaching from 5 to 10 miles per hour the day. This has been a production of Texan TV News, a product of the Texan News Service from the Tarleton State University campus in Stephenville, Texas. Watch us live on Apogee Channel 2.1 in the dorms at 12:30 weekdays. If you live off campus, tune in on Northland Cable Channel 9. You can follow the Texan News Service on Facebook and Twitter, and check out our website at www.texannews.net for all of your latest local, state, national, and international news. Today's broadcast was produced by Seth Gonzalez, Joel Strout, Chris Gibbens, and Destiny Ross. Have a wonderful day, Texans.